Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this Tech Talk series number 5. We're going to be talking about how Microsoft estimates migration services projects. I am Joe Raffanelli. I am one of the technical directors here at Microsoft. We are a customized software development shop that specializes in migrating old technology to new platforms. I'm here again with my colleague, Imran Salahuddin. He is the VP of Migration Services, and we're going to discuss together this topic. Imran, thanks again for joining.
Hello, everyone. Analysis and estimation of any project is very important task. It gets more critical when we have a legacy application to be rewritten or migrated. There will be many consideration and aspects to be, considered. We will discuss today how we do this for our projects.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So we're going to go through some steps. You'll be hearing me talk about next step, and here's the next step. Anyway, so what'll happen is the way it takes place is we have prospective clients that want a migration, right? And then what I will do is I will walk them through the steps, get them the quote, and then get them also the duration. So there's many things that we do before we have that. So there are many reasons why folks come to us for migration services. So it could be like scalability, like they want to keep up with the competition, talent acquisition. There's not a lot of folks coming out of school with these older capabilities. So they definitely want to get them migrated. But the most important are the technical support, of legacy applications. So they definitely want to choose us for that. And then modern security, because there's a lot of audits, failed audits because of the legacy migration, because of the legacy coding not being up to par when it comes to auditing purposes. So those are the couple of reasons why they come to us. So once a client or a potential client recognizes that, one of those items is to needs to be migrated, or the reason for migration is occurs, what'll happen is they'll contact Microsoft either through our website, or they'll contact us directly. So what I'll do is I'll schedule the call, walk them through the process, and then we'll go through some Q&A. So that's basically the first call. What'll happen though after that call, we'll get a non-disclosure agreement signed, which is an NDA. We either use our NDA or the person's company, if they have an NDA, we'll use that. We'll schedule a system demo so we know exactly, what the application does. That system demo is from a non-technical perspective, so it's from a super user perspective. And then what we'll do is we'll ask for our code matrix results. Well, code matrix is a tool that we've created that basically counts the lines of code. It counts the forms, the screens, and reports, and it puts it into a nice spreadsheet that we can, do estimates for, high-level estimates for. Once we have that information, we go ahead and we ask for the source code, and we'll get that via FTPS, and then I'll send the password via securely through a person's cell phone. This way, everything is secure when it comes over. So let's talk about Code Matrix for a second. So it does allow us to have that initial first step of what the size of your application is. So it's going to allow us to give you that quote range. It's going to allow us to give you that duration, right? So it's definitely a great way to go. Even if you're not didn't want to go with Microsoft, you would still have an idea about what the size of your application would be. I'm going to turn it over to Enra and ask him a question about Code Matrix. Can you show folk a demo of this application, of this link, and let's see how that goes from there?
Sure, Joe. Um, so the code matrix that Microsoft has developed is available in two different versions. One is for the Visual Fox Pro, and one other is for VB6 and classic ASP applications. Let's see a demo of code more for the VFP first. I shared my screen. I hope everyone can see it.
Yeah, we see it.
Okay, so I pre-recorded this video for the sake of the time. This is a very simple interface of this tool, and we'll post the URL of it. Anyone can download this tool and run it on your machine. It requires the user to locate the folder that has the VFP application. Make sure that the source code files should be there, like the PJX and the PRG and the SEX files there. You select the folder, You click the start analysis, it analyzes the complete VFP code, and once it's done, it will show us the results. So let me just quickly move forward here. So it's analyzing, and after analysis, it will show a report, which is a summary report that shows us. Okay, let me pause it here. This is the summary it is showing, and VFP projects are either based on the PJX file or without the PJX file. So it is showing both of them. All the components that are included in the PJX and the components that are not included in the PJX but exist in the folder. It's a very small test project. That's why you are seeing very small number of lines of code. Otherwise, it will be hundreds and thousands for the medium to large size projects. It shows us the project, um, how many program files, how many class libraries are there, how many number of lines of code is there, number of methods and objects. So it is giving us all very useful information. Um, this is the summary, but it also generates the detailed information as well, which defines us each file that is there. So we can analyze that how many program files are there and what these program files are. It will also help us in identifying the duplicate files and eliminating them. Maybe there are multiple files, like multiple classes are referenced in different projects, so we can eliminate them. It also tell us that which commands are used, how many times, what controls are used, and it gives a lot more information about the VFP source code. So this really help us in understanding the this VFP code. Without seeing the code, it provides us all the statistical data that we can estimate the effort for migrating this particular project. So this is the one, but I want to show you another tool um, that is the code matrix for VB6 and Classic ASP. It's a different tool, but does the same job as the other tool does, but it is written especially for the VB6 and the Classic ASP projects. Again, it's the same thing. You locate a folder where the VB6 or the Classic ASP project exists. You click the start analysis. It will give you, some log data, and then it generate the code metric result. So I pre-generated for one of the project, and I will simply pull it up. Um, this is the summary report that it generates. It is telling that how many which extension files are there, how many files are there, what is the total lines count, how many blank lines are there, how many commented lines are there, and then it tells us how many the pure lines of code. This really help us, because when we don't have the source code and we need to estimate, and our estimate is mainly based on the lines of code. We don't count the blank lines or the commented lines. We only count the pure lines of code. So it gives us all other details about this thing, and it tells you about the summary thing, but you can also see the details of it as well. The detail includes for every file. We see those files, right? And with this, we can convert it into Excel as well to perform more analysis. And it also provide us the unique, because the projects are written, sometimes some classes and some programs are common code which is included in multiple projects. It also tell us that what is the unique files that will be considered while we are estimating. So this tool also, again, for the VB6 projects and the Classic SP projects, give us a very good detail on which we can provide the estimations without seeing the code.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for going through VFP, VB6. That was very informative. I appreciate that. So for folks to know this, anybody can use this tool. It's a free tool. What we're going to do is we're going to show it to you guys on the link. It should come up in a second in the chat. While we're doing that, everyone, let's talk about a little bit more about Code Matrix. So do we count all the lines of code, or do we do more analysis?
Okay, so the code matrix report give details of the code. The tool reports the modules included in VFP project file as well as the modules which are not included. So we exclude the files not included in project. VFP can call any module in runtime. That's how VFP work. Um, we can consider or we cannot consider based on how the code is written, but we have to analyze the code to make a final decision for that. There can be multiple VFP projects that are using the common code. We count each distinct file once. um, Other than that, we can see, we find out that if there is a VFP framework is used in the code. There were popular VFP frameworks like Westwind for rich client-side tools, XFRX to export reports to the PDF, Word, etc., and report preview. So these were some of the frameworks which were commonly used in the VFP application. We usually discount framework code, which reduces lines count greatly.
Well, I'm sure our audience is glad to hear that we just don't take it at face value, right? There's a lot more analysis that we put time into. So we refine the statistics, we put them all in our estimation model to define the costs and time estimates. This is what's going to provide the high level estimate and the duration ranges. So once we have the cost and duration set, right, and approved, because that would typically go out to the prospective clients to say, okay, this looks like it's within range. And like I said before, we'll provide, we'll ask for the source code, and we'll provide FTPS credentials, right, and the password will be sent via the cell, so it's protected, and then we kind of take it from there. So once we actually receive your source code, that's when we do the deep dive analysis. So, Imran, let's drill down on that a little bit. So now you have the code. What do you do with that code?
Okay, so the source code, once we receive the source code, of course, we analyze it and it provide all the clarity of the application. What we analyze mainly in the source code is how the code is written. There can be different styles of writing the code. There can be an old style also we have observed in the modern app. I mean, in the VFP9 applications, also the FOXPRO 2.6 code. We see that how the classes are used. Are they used effectively or not? They are used effectively the way this should be used. It means that we will find less redundancy in the code. The code distribution between the forms and classes. We see that if the framework is used, as I mentioned earlier, that there were popular frameworks that were used commonly in the application. So which framework is used and for what? Are there any integrations in this application with any other application or database, and what are those integrations? There is one more very important aspect is which third-party controls or libraries are used and for what functionality, and we have to find out and analyze that we can provide the same functionality with the modern tools and libraries that are available nowadays. Of course, we will not be using the legacy libraries to provide the same. There can be dead code, which is no more useful, and that can be retired because the application is written like 30 years ago, and many times client come with us that we don't use these forms, so we can simply eliminate those modules um, from the whole estimate.
Understood. Thank you. So do you see a difference in analyzing the VFP and VB6 application codes? What are the differences?
Right. So first, I'll talk about the VFP code analysis. For Visual FoxPro, 90% are Visual FoxPro 9 applications these days that we migrate. But we also analyze some components that were written in the FoxPro 2.6. In these cases, we have to analyze how the forms and reports are developed. We have analyzed and migrated FoxPro 2.6 applications which had form UI code written in the PRG and the reports written in the PRG. This was the style 30 years ago. So, I mean, if the code is written like this, we of course have to take great consideration for this estimation. When it comes to the VB6 code analysis, mainly we see what third-party controls are used in the VB6 application, how the database is handled, and what tool is used for the reporting. That's very important factor. In classic ASP applications, we perform detailed analysis, and most of the time ignore a good percentage of HTML and the JavaScript code.
So apart from the legacy code, Imran, what other factors are considered in the estimation?
This is a very important question. It's not only the application like to like migration, but there are some other requirements from the clients as well based on the modern trends, like implementation of single sign-on, um, which UI framework meet the client expectation. If UI and UX expectation is more modification to the database based on some specific requirements. These are the main factors that we consider. We talk to our client to understand what their requirements are, and then add appropriate effort for that. There is one more major consideration when a client want to offer application on SaaS model, right? So the VFP applications or the VB6 applications were written for the desktop. So let's suppose if a client has 1,000 clients, so they send those executables to their clients, and every client has their own copy in their desktop. But now in the modern world, when we providing the SaaS based applications, there will be a different architecture that we follow. So this is a very important factor that we discuss with clients. So if they want to publish their application on SaaS model, we define those changes in the database, and we discuss with the client that what how their application will look like and what additional effort will be required to do that. Yes.
Perfect, Imran. Thank you so much. I'm going to let you take a break for a little bit. I'm just going to let everybody know like the next step. So at this point, what Imran was explaining, once we get the source code, there's a lot of factors that goes into it, into the estimation to make sure we have the appropriate numbers, for potential clients. So what we'll do is we'll create the presentation or create the solution. We'll go ahead and schedule the call. Either if locally, we'll come see you. If not, we usually do it via Teams. And what we'll do is we'll present the solution and go through any Q&A. Typically, a lot of stuff comes out of those meetings in terms of architecture and things of that nature. So we'll go through all that, make sure everybody's comfortable with with the way forward is. Once we do that, right, we'll create a statement of work or an SOW, and then what I'll do is I'll forward that to the folks. So what is that? That's a detailed information or statement of work, I should say, as far as what you're going to be getting when you're coming through with Microsoft. So it'll have expectations, it'll have prerequisites, it'll have things like that you would expect in a more detailed project as such as this. So you can expect that from us. So at this point, we kind of went through the steps and how we do things. I was going to see if anybody has any questions. Maybe you could put them on the chat. That would be great. Okay, so we got our first question. So how do we get your code analysis tools?
Joe, let me answer this question. So
Okay, go ahead.
CodeMetrics, as I mentioned, the tool that analyzes your source code. Anyone can download it from our website. We'll post the URL of that. And as I mentioned, it comes in two versions. One is CodeMetrics for the Visual Fox Pro, and another one is the CodeMetrics for VB6 and the Classic SP application. So we're posting the URL for both of them.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if any other questions. Okay, question number 2. How close are your estimates just by using the tool and not seeing the source code? Okay, great question. So plus or minus 20%, it really depends on how updated your source code is. So, and what I mean by that, if there's unused or unwanted modules, things of that nature, sometimes there's some spaghetti code in there. If you're giving me your code, when it runs through CodeMetrics, with a lot of that stuff in there that you don't want, obviously the price is going to be higher. So the more accurate information you give me, the more accurate information that comes out of it. So I'll state it again, about plus or minus 20%. All right, another question. So question talks about how quickly can I receive a high level estimate? So as Imran had mentioned, we don't just take it at face value, right? So there's going to be some analysis. So we need 3 to 5 days to give you as accurate estimate as we can give you for just receiving the code matrix results. So 3 to 5 days. Any other questions? Okay, so what's the time frame for receiving a detailed estimate? So a detailed estimate, obviously, that means we would have received the source code, and that's where we're really diving into the details there. We're looking at 7 to 10 business days to get back to folks on that, and after that time, we'll schedule the solution and we'll get those quotes out to you guys. So 7 to 10 business days. Okay, what is the approximate cost of a migration? All right, so going through our analysis, the average is 3 to 350 per line of code. So if you have 100,000 lines of code, you're looking at between $300,000 and $350,000 for that particular project, and it's typically about a 6 to 9 month project with several different releases. That's how that works. Hopefully that helps. Let's see if there's anything else. Okay, I don't see any other questions. Thanks, everybody. Okay, so thanks to everybody again for joining the session. Hopefully it really hit home in terms of what those next steps are for migration services. If you didn't get a chance to ask any questions in this call, please reach out to me. You should see my contact information soon, right there. Actually, you see it right there. So again, if there's any additional questions, let me know. At this time, we're going to conclude this meeting. I want to thank everybody for joining, and we'll be doing another Tech Talk session next month as well. Thanks, folks, again.
Thank you, everyone.